Welcome back to Talk Tickers, everybody.
Yeah.
Today we're taking a deep dive into Atomera's Q4 2024 earnings call.
Atomera, yeah, they're a material science company, really focusing on pushing the boundaries in the semiconductor space.
And with each quarter, their story's getting even more interesting.
That's for sure. They're developing solutions that could really change, how we think about chips, faster speeds, better battery life, even potentially lowering those production costs,
Right. Okay, so before we get too deep into the weeds, let's set the stage. What were the big numbers this quarter?
Sure. So revenues came in at $135,000 for the year.
Okay.
Not a huge surprise given, where they are in their development. They ended up with a GAAP net loss of $18.4 million, but they still have a pretty healthy cash position, about $26.8 million in cash equivalents, and short-term investments.
Yeah.
It's, not bad.
Yeah, those top-level numbers, maybe don't jump off the page, but I think, as any investor knows, the real story is usually, a little bit deeper than that.
Absolutely. When you really dig into the details of the call, you see a company that's making some really strategic moves. They're all over the semiconductor market, each with huge potential.
Yeah. So let's start with what could have been a pretty big turning point for Atomera. They were in these deep negotiations with a customer. They described them as transformative. Now, this would have been, a company with the scale to really launch Atomera's technology, but the deal stalled.
Yeah. And it's worth noting that Atomera says the deal fell apart because of issues on the customer side, not because of any problem with the technology.
Right.
But it does, it makes you wonder, is Atomera maybe a bit overestimating this customer's, need or their willingness to try something new?
That's a fair point. And big companies, they can be really slow to change, even when it's in their best interest. But Atomera does seem pretty confident that this customer, their need for this solution is only going to grow. So maybe this isn't over yet.
I agree. It's too early to say it's a complete failure, but it is a good reminder that, for Atomera to be successful, they not only have to develop great technology, they also got to figure out how to, navigate the semiconductor world, and convince those big players that new is good.
Yeah. Okay, let's shift gears a bit. Talk about one area where Atomera's tech seems like a really good fit. Gate all-around transistors. This is like the next big thing in computing, right?
Absolutely. Everyone's racing towards this new architecture, from the designers to, the folks actually making the chips.
So where does Atomera fit into all of this?
Well, what's exciting is that their tech can be integrated at multiple points within these transistors. So it's not just one single application. It's, a whole suite of potential solutions. And that could lead to some really big performance boosts across the board.
And for our listeners, we're talking potentially a 10 to 15% increase in processing speed. Now, that translates to faster phones, more powerful laptops, heck, even AI systems that are more responsive, more intelligent.
Exactly. And what this also tells us is that Atomera's technology, it's not a one-trick pony. It really has the potential to be a platform technology, like a fundamental building block for a whole range of next-gen chips.
So they're not putting all their eggs in one basket, so to speak.
They're not.
Which is good. And speaking of playing in multiple fields, they're not just focusing on processors.
Right.
They're also making moves in the memory market, which is, it's huge because memory chips are in basically everything these days.
Yeah, that's a smart move. The memory market is massive. It's incredibly competitive. But Atomera's tech could give them a way to boost that performance and efficiency in ways that really matter to the end user.
It's like, how frustrating it is when your phone lags or your laptop freezes? Because it's trying to keep up with some task that demands a lot from the memory.
Oh, for sure. Or imagine, how much more you could get done if your devices could access and process information just that much faster.
Yeah.
These little improvements, they might seem small, but they can make a big difference in how we use our devices every day.
So it seems like Atomera's taking kind of a two-pronged approach here.
Yeah.
They're aiming for future growth in the memory market, working with a bunch of different companies on these next-gen designs.
Right.
But they also have a more immediate path to revenue through their partnership with ST Microelectronics. That's a big semiconductor manufacturer.
Exactly. And that deal is moving towards actually making chips, which
Yep.
is that's a big deal for a company like Atomera. They're being a little cagey about the exact timeline, but they did say they're going to announce publicly when they hit that process qualification stage. And that's usually about 9 months before things start rolling off the assembly line.
Okay, so for those of us who aren't chip designers, what does process qualification actually mean?
So it's like the final test. It's the validation before you go into full-scale manufacturing. Think of it as a series of really tough checks to make sure that the chip can be produced reliably on a large scale and with the performance that they're looking for.
So once Atomera announces that they've hit this stage, it's a pretty good sign that they'll be making money from this partnership, what, within a year?
Yeah, that's a reasonable assumption. And once that revenue starts coming in, it could really change how the market sees Atomera. And it might attract even more interest from other potential partners. It's definitely something to keep an eye on in the coming months.
Now, this is where things get really interesting. Atomera is also exploring this new material. It's called gallium nitride. And it has a ton of potential in power electronics. We're talking faster chargers, more efficient data centers, potentially even longer range electric vehicles.
Yeah, and what's interesting about their approach with gallium nitride is they're not trying to reinvent the wheel, you know. They're really focusing on improving the quality of the base material itself. So the gallium nitride wafer.
So instead of designing a whole new chip, they're kind of enhancing the foundation that it's built on.
Right.
That sounds like it could be a much faster way to get to market, right?
Yeah, definitely. And it could be a lot more cost effective too. They might be able to sell these improved wafers directly to the chip manufacturers. And then those manufacturers, they can just integrate them into their current production lines.
Hmm. So it's like saying, hey, we can make your existing chips better without you having to, make all these big changes to your designs, your manufacturing processes.
Exactly. It's a smart strategy, especially for a company like Atomera. They're still growing. They need to show results and they need to show them fast.
Yeah, makes sense.
Yeah.
But they're not stopping there. Atomera is also targeting the data center market. Booming.
Yeah, huge market.
Yeah, and they've got this technology designed specifically for 48-volt systems. And those are becoming the standard for these power-hungry data centers.
Yeah, that's another smart move. Data centers, they use a ton of energy, and any technology that can help them be more efficient is going to be in high demand.
It seems like there's a theme here, right? They're identifying these key areas where their technology can really make a difference, and then they're making targeted solutions for those markets. It's not just like let's throw a bunch of stuff at the wall and see what sticks.
Right. It's a strategic approach. They're looking at these big trends in the semiconductor industry, and they're positioning themselves to capitalize on them.
And they have this secret weapon that's helping them do all of this. It's called T-CAD, Technology Computer Aided Design.
Mm.
It's basically like having a virtual lab where they can simulate how their tech's going to perform, in all these different situations before they even have to build a real prototype.
Yeah, it's a huge advantage, especially in semiconductors where, the development process can take a long time and it's very expensive. But with TCAD, Atomera can speed up that research and development, get those really precise results. And they can even impress potential customers with data before they have to make a single chip.
It's like having a crystal ball for chip design. And it's pretty clear they're using it to its full potential.
Absolutely. I mean, their mastery of TCAD, it really shows you their technical strength. It's not just a material science company. They're also a software and simulation powerhouse. And that combination, that could make them a really powerful force in the semiconductor world.
Okay, so to recap here, we've got a company with this potentially game-changing technology. They're focused on these high-growth markets, and they've got this deep understanding of how the semiconductor industry works.
Right.
But they also face some pretty significant challenges. I mean, the competition is fierce, and it's really tough to get these big companies to change their ways.
Absolutely. It's a classic David versus Goliath story. Atomera has the potential to disrupt the industry, but they're going to need to be smart. They're going to need to be quick, and they're going to need to stay focused if they want to succeed.
Okay, so let's shift gears for a minute. It's time for what we call our "This is not financial advice" segment. Time to have a little fun, speculate a bit. What happens if some of these wilder bets that Atomera is making, what if they pay off?
Always my favorite part. Let's hear it.
Okay, imagine this. Atomera's gallium nitride wafer technology.
Hmm.
It doesn't just take off, it explodes.
Okay.
It's not just electric vehicles, it's not just aerospace companies. It's catching the eye of, wait for it, a major gaming console manufacturer.
No, that's interesting. I hadn't thought about that.
Think about it. People want more powerful gaming consoles. They want them to be more efficient.
Yeah.
And if Atomera's GaN wafers can deliver, higher performance, lower power consumption, it could be huge for the gaming world.
Yeah, gamers are always looking for that edge. And this could be it.
So suddenly we're not just talking about, lighter airplanes and electric cars that go farther. We're talking about game consoles that can run even more demanding games. Faster frame rates, more realistic graphics, and they run quieter. They run cooler.
It's a big leap, but I can see the logic there. The gaming market is massive, and any company that can offer a real performance boost, they're going to have a big advantage.
Of course, this is all just us having a little fun. This is not financial advice. Do your own research, folks. But wouldn't it be something if Atomera ended up powering the next generation of game consoles?
It would be a wild twist, but that's the thing about these emerging technologies. The possibilities really are endless.
Yeah.
And who knows what the future holds.
Okay. Well, that's going to wrap it up for part 1 of our deep dive into Atomera's Q4 2024 earnings call.
Welcome back to Talk Tickers. We're jumping right back into that Atomera Q4 2024 earnings call, picking up where we left off, exploring how their technology could really shake things up in the semiconductor world.
Yeah. And in the last part, we talked about how that deal with, that potentially huge customer fell through. It's a good reminder that even when you've got great technology, business and internal politics can really get in the way.
Oh, for sure. I mean, Atomera's got this big challenge. They got to convince these huge companies that their tech not only works, but it's worth the headache of changing how they do things.
Right.
Sometimes the biggest roadblock to doing something new isn't the technology itself. It's people not wanting to change.
Yeah, it's like trying to get a whole city to switch to a brand new transportation system overnight.
Right.
There's pushback. There's always those unexpected problems.
Yeah.
But one thing that really jumped out at me in this call was how much they talked about working closely with ST Microelectronics.
Yeah, they're really proud of that partnership, and they should be. It's a big deal for a company like Atomera. It shows that their tech is legit, and it shows they can work with the big players in the industry. But what's really interesting is how involved Atomera is in actually helping ST Microelectronics integrate their MST technology.
Yeah.
They're not just, handing over some plans and saying good luck.
Yeah.
They're getting in there. They're making sure it works.
It's like they're rolling up their sleeves and getting their hands dirty right alongside ST Microelectronics. I think that shows a real commitment to making this thing work.
Exactly. And that kind of hands-on approach, it can pay off big time down the road. You know, when other potential customers see that Atomera is willing to go the extra mile, it builds trust. And it might even help them get over that fear of change we were talking about.
It's like saying, look, we're not just here to sell you something. We're here to be your partner. We're here to help you succeed.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, so let's talk about gallium nitride. This material is getting a lot of attention lately, a lot of potential in power electronics, faster chargers, more efficient data centers, even electric vehicles.
Yeah. What makes Atomera's approach unique is that they're not focusing on redesigning the whole chip. They're focused on that base material. They're improving that gallium nitride wafer.
So it's like they're enhancing the foundation that the whole thing is built on.
Right. It's a more kind of fundamental approach.
Yeah.
And it could have this ripple effect across the whole gallium nitride landscape.
So imagine a world where all these gallium nitride devices are just better, just because that base material is better.
Yeah.
That's what Atomera's going for.
It's ambitious. But they've done it before.
Yeah.
Remember, they were the first to successfully integrate their technology with silicon, and a lot of people thought that was impossible back then. So they've got a history of exceeding expectations.
And speaking of exceeding expectations, let's talk about their work with those computer simulations, that T-CAD stuff.
Yeah, this is where Atomera really has a leg up on a lot of the competition. It's like having a crystal ball. You can see how your technology is going to work in all these different situations before you even have to build anything.
It's got to save them a ton of time and money. But how does it work in practice?
So basically, they create these incredibly detailed virtual models of their materials.
Okay.
And then they run these simulations. They see how those materials behave under different conditions, and this lets them fine-tune their technology to a really impressive level.
Okay.
They can tailor it to what each customer needs.
So it's like having a tailor-made suit for every occasion.
Yeah, exactly. And we heard in the Q&A part of the call that this is already paying off. They're landing new partnerships because of this.
Hmm.
Remember that big analog chip company we talked about earlier? They were blown away by the data that Atomera showed them from their simulations, and they were so convinced by it that they're moving forward with real-world testing. I mean, that's a pretty strong vote of confidence.
Yeah. It really highlights how powerful that virtual lab of theirs is.
Yeah.
But even with all this, all this progress, these promising partnerships, Atomera still has some big hurdles to overcome.
Oh, absolutely. The semiconductor industry, it's a tough business. It takes a lot of money, it takes a lot of time to develop and manufacture these chips, and there's always a chance that someone else is going to beat you to market.
Yeah, and even if you have the best technology, getting those big companies to actually use it, that can be a real uphill battle. There's a lot of kind of resistance to change in this industry.
Yeah.
Companies, they don't like to shake things up unless they absolutely have to.
Right. So Atomera needs to be patient. They need to be persistent. And they need to be really smart about how they use their resources. They've got a lot of balls in the air right now, different opportunities across all these different parts of the market. So they have to be really focused on the areas where they have the best chance of success.
It's a tough balancing act, but if they can pull it off, the rewards could be huge.
Oh yeah. We're talking about the potential to completely change entire industries, smartphones, data centers, electric vehicles, and beyond. I mean, Atomera's technology could really unlock a whole new era of innovation.
It's a story that's still being written, and it's going to be fun to see how it plays out.
Absolutely. Atomera is definitely a company to keep your eye on.
Okay, before we move on to our last segment here, let's do a quick recap. We talked about how that deal with that big customer fell through. We talked about their work with gallium nitride, that mastery of computer simulations, and all the challenges that they face in this really complex world of semiconductors.
Yeah, it's a lot to take in, but it gives you a good sense of where Atomera is right now.
Yeah.
They've got a ton of potential, but they're still in the early stages of their journey.
And as always, investors need to do their own research, understand the risks, and make their own decisions.
For sure.
Okay, so let's have some fun here. Time for our "This is not financial advice" segment.
Yes. I was hoping you'd say that. What wild ideas do you have for us today?
Okay, so picture this. Atomera's gallium nitride wafer technology. It doesn't just take off, it goes through the roof.
Okay.
It's not just electric vehicle companies, it's not just aerospace companies. It's catching the attention of, get this, a major gaming console manufacturer.
Interesting. I hadn't considered that.
Think about it. People want more powerful game consoles. They want them to be more efficient. And if Atomera can deliver that, that higher performance, that lower power consumption with these GaN wafers, it could be a game changer. Literally.
Yeah. Gamers, they're always looking for an edge, and this could be it.
So suddenly we're not just talking about, airplanes that are lighter
Yeah.
and electric vehicles that go farther. We're talking about game consoles that can run even the most demanding games. Faster frame rates, more realistic graphics, they're quieter, they're cooler.
Yeah, that's a big leap. But I see where you're going with this. The gaming market is enormous, and any company that can offer that kind of performance boost, they'd have a real advantage.
Of course, this is all just us having some fun, right?
Yeah.
This is not financial advice. Do your own research.
Yeah.
But wouldn't it be wild if Atomera ended up, powering the next generation of game consoles?
It would definitely be a twist. But, that's the thing about these new technologies. The possibilities are endless.
Yeah.
Who knows what the future holds?
All right, so that's going to wrap it up for part 2 of our deep dive into Atomera's Q4 2024 earnings call. Welcome back to Talk Diggers. We're wrapping up our deep dives into Atomera's Q4 2024 earnings call.
Yeah. Been a pretty interesting look at them so far, right?
Yeah. We went through the financials, looked at their tech, talked about the challenges and the opportunities they have. And we even had some fun speculating about, what the future could hold for them. Electric vehicles, airplanes,
Yeah.
maybe even, shaking up the gaming world.
That would be something.
Yeah. But before we wrap up completely, let's step back for a minute and think about Atomera's, their long-term vision. They're not just trying to make small improvements to things. They're aiming much higher than that.
Right. They want to change how we think about semiconductors, how they're designed, how they're made. They want to be the go-to company for materials innovation in this whole industry.
It's a pretty bold goal,
Mm.
but they seem to have a pretty good plan for getting there.
Yeah. They've laid out a pretty clear roadmap.
So what does that roadmap look like?
Well, the first thing they got to do is get more of those partnerships with those big chip makers. ST Microelectronics is a great start, but they need to show that their technology can work in all sorts of different products, all sorts of applications.
Right. They need to prove that they can deliver.
Exactly. Build that track record of success. Convince even those the really tough customers that Atomera is not just, some startup with a good idea. They're a real partner that can help them succeed.
So what else is on the to-do list for them?
Well, they have to keep investing in research and development, big time. This
Mhm.
industry is constantly changing, and they can't just sit back and relax.
We got to keep pushing the limits, right?
Yeah. New materials, new ways to improve the old ones. Got to stay ahead of the curve.
Right, because innovation it's everything in this business,
Yeah,
and they have to
Yeah.
stay on top.
exactly.
Okay, so partnerships, R&D, what else?
The third piece, I think, is building that brand, building that reputation. They want people to think of Atomera when they think of cutting edge materials for semiconductors. They want to be, like the Intel inside of material science.
Makes sense. It's a long road, but they've already made some good progress. They've got a great team, they've got a technology that works, and they've got a pretty clear vision of where they want to go.
Yeah. And they're in the right market. I mean, this
Yeah.
market's just going to keep growing.
Right. Faster, more efficient, more powerful chips. It's what everyone wants.
Absolutely. It's the foundation for all this new technology that's coming out. AI, autonomous driving, virtual reality. All of it depends on these chips.
So Atomera's, they're in the right place at the right time.
Yeah.
But like any company that's just starting out, there's risk.
Oh, of course. I mean, they could run into technical problems. They could face some really tough competition. They might even have trouble getting the money they need to keep growing.
Right. Nothing's guaranteed.
But they've shown they can overcome obstacles. They've beaten the odds before, and it seems like they're ready to do it again.
So bottom line, what's your take on Atomera?
I think they've got a real shot at becoming a major player in this industry. They're tackling some really big problems.
Yeah.
And they've got the potential to make a real difference.
Of course, this is not financial advice.
Yeah.
Do your own research, understand the risks and all that.
Absolutely.
All right. Well, that wraps up our deep dive into Atomera's Q4 2024 earnings call. We hope you found it, useful, informative.
Yeah. Learn something new.
Always more to learn and explore. Until next time, keep listening to Talk Tickers for all the latest earnings call breakdowns and market insights.